a potential customer. Can I offer you a human foot filled with holes? A bar of green human candy? Oh, how about this black shadow box that reflects only sadness?
Welcome to Monster Menagerie, the show where we break down your favorite pop culture monsters and baddies to see what makes them tick, and figure out how the Paladin Order would handle them. I'm your host, Mason Kren. Mason is my title, Kren is my name. After last month's deep dive into Bayonetta, I figured we needed something a bit lighter. So, I went to the opposite end of the witch spectrum to find what might be our most wholesome witch for the whole year. Curious, clever, determined, and a huge fan of the Azura series. It's the one and only Luz Noceda. I know. Ida, the infamous owl lady, would have been the obvious choice, right? The most wanted troublemaker on the Boiling Isles, rocking a bounty that'd make Luffy jealous. But Monster Menagerie isn't just about raw power. It's about finding the most interesting characters, and no matter how you cut it, Luz is definitely interesting. Before we get too far in, if you like what we do here at the Archives, please give us a like and subscribe, and share your thoughts down in the comments. We're always open for new witch suggestions, plus I'd love to see what your opinions are. Alright, grab your authentic human artifacts, your paper crown, and a handful of glyphs, because we're diving into Luz Noceda.
I am Luz, the human, warrior of peace.
Because the characters I analyze often come from sprawling franchises, books, movies, TV shows, video games, I usually have to narrow my focus. When I kicked off this series with Dracula, I focused solely on the Bela Lugosi version from 1931, despite the mountain of Draculas out there. When we covered Nandor the Relentless, I only pulled from What We Do in the Shadows Season 1, even though the show now has 5. So, for this episode, we're sticking with Baby Luz, Season 1 only. Yes, I know she grows stronger. Yes, I know things change. But I'm a one-man operation here, and even this version of Luz is giving me plenty to work with. Luz is a typical human. Well, typical might not be the best word.
You think that's an impressive trick? Take a look at this. Bleep, bloop, bleep.
She's a human who just doesn't seem to fit, at least not in our world. But on the way to what has to be the lamest summer camp ever, a chance encounter sends her tumbling into another world entirely, the Boiling Isles. She's taken in by the legendary owl lady herself, Ida, and quickly finds herself part of a makeshift family of weirdos, including Hootie, the literal owl house, and King, a self-proclaimed demon king, or maybe a little dog? The jury's still out. Determined to become a witch, Luz begins training under Ida, but the call of formal education proves too strong, leading her to enroll at Hexside School of Magic and Demonics, where she teams up with her new witch friends, Willow and Gus, and of course her rival-turned-eventual girlfriend, Amity. Now, of course, there's one small problem. Humans can't use magic. Unlike witches who have a magic sack attached to their heart, Luz has to find her own way. Enter glyph magic, an ancient and forgotten form of spellcasting that lets her harness magic through drawn symbols. But the Boiling Isles isn't as free and whimsical as it seems. There's a man at the top, Emperor Belos, and he's the one who dictates how magic is used, enforcing the coven system that limits witches to just one type of spellcasting. Much like Ida, who refuses to be tied down, Luz constantly gets into hijinks by refusing to limit herself. First at school, where she becomes the first student allowed to study every track, and later against Belos himself. Along the way, she becomes co-Grom Queen with Amity, has a classic sports montage, makes fun of Harry Potter at least twice that I caught, and ultimately finds herself facing off against the Emperor to save her mentor. She shows bravery, cunning, creativity, and optimism in the face of danger and near certain doom. But, in the end, she wins, saving the people she loves, even if it means sacrificing her only way home. And that's more or less the story of the Owl House Season 1. And yes, you bet I'll be watching the rest in my free time. Now, let's see what this little witch can bring to bear against the Paladin Order, shall we? Right off the bat, we have to address the obvious. Luz is a 14-year-old girl. Sure, she gets stronger later in the series, but we're looking at her Season 1 self, so her threat level is naturally going to be limited. That said, she's no pushover. She's creative, quick-witted, and just too stubborn to accept no as an answer. I mean, she basically fights the Boiling Isles versions of grown-ups. I don't know how mature any particular one person in this world is, but they seem like they're grown-ups. And despite being a human, she uncovered the lost art of glyph magic, which makes her a serious wild card. So, how do we deal with her? Number 1. Glyph magic. Told she couldn't do magic, Luz said bet and found a whole lost system of spellcasting. By studying the natural world, she figured out that specific symbols could conjure powerful effects, and she's fast at using them. Activation speed? She can slap glyphs down on the surface and trigger them instantly. Range? She doesn't even need to touch them. Storage? She can pre-draw glyphs on paper and deploy them as needed. The spells themselves aren't particularly groundbreaking, light, ice, plant, fire, but what makes them dangerous is her clever usage and unpredictability. Our strategy? Well, if she runs out of glyphs or gets separated from them, she's powerless. Speed is key. If we can disrupt her before she can draw new glyphs, we can neutralize the threat. So, take away anything she has to draw the glyphs, see if you can separate her from the glyphs she already has, and, as soon as it's possible, restrict the usage of her hands. Number 2, the staff and cloak. At the end of Season 1, Luz briefly uses Ada's staff, complete with Albert, her palisman. This grants her aerial mobility, making her harder to catch. The cloak she's gifted provides some resistance to magic, but let's be real, we're not throwing fireballs at her. Our standard paladin arsenal isn't going to be affected. On a side note, though, the existence of her cloak gives me hope that our paladin garments might actually be able to resist her spells. Paladin strategy. First, separate her from Albert. The staff itself is really just a stick without him. Also, Luz isn't a practiced flyer, so the odds for crashing on her own are pretty high. Forcing her into a tight space or fast maneuvers is a solid plan. As far as the cloak goes, I mean, like I said, we don't really use spells. Number 3, genre awareness. Okay, hear me out on this one. Luz doesn't break the fourth wall, but she does lean on it pretty heavily. Being a huge fan of the Azura book series, and strangely, sports film anthology, Luz knows all the tropes. What's weirder is how relevant they are in the Boiling Isles. She extends this to other aspects of her life there, so if confronted by the Paladins, I'm sure she'd reference some Hunger Games-esque book where the young teenage protagonist fights off corrupt government agents. And I'd like to think she wouldn't catch us off guard, but honestly, this might be one of her better powers. Paladin strategy. I mean, just pay attention, I guess. It's not a power in the strictest sense, but it works a surprising amount of times, which is to say it works at all. In fairness, though, it does backfire on her just as much, like when she walked into a trap armed with a toy sword because she believed she was the chosen one. Number 4. The power of friendship. I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but even in other analyses, I've mentioned that allies can be a big consideration. And Luz, she's rarely alone. Where she goes, Willow and Gus will follow. Oh, and of course, blushing Mene Tsundere Amity. Would Amity go feral and incinerate a paladin that managed to take down Luz? I mean, I'm not saying no. Paladin strategy. Gus is easily ignored for the most part. Willow and Amity are much more concerning, but with their complete lack of understanding of humans and overall general lack of experience, any confrontation with the Paladins would definitely be in our favor. Luz is more than just the sum of her parts. She's not the fastest, strongest, or most powerful witch we've faced, but she adapts and outsmarts her opponents. She's resourceful, she's clever, and above all, she's completely, recklessly fearless. So, how dangerous is she really? Let's break down her threat level. My job here at the Archives is to field calls from Paladins. They confront all manner of monsters, maniacs, and magical menaces, and it's my job to give them the information they need to survive. Well, in theory. Usually they just want one thing, the threat level. How hard will it be to kill this thing? Now, the threat level technically goes from 1 to 10, but I need to stress that 7 to 10 are hypothetical. We've never actually faced anything at those levels. Those are world-ending threats. A 1 is like, well, honestly, it's King. Look at him. Feel his adorable wrath. But a 10? Oh, are you sure you want to know? Because once I tell you, there is no going back. I'm serious. You, watching this video on your phone, maybe in your second monitor while working, maybe just listening while you fold laundry. You, if you listen to this, your life, your eternal soul, is in jeopardy. Just to be nice, I have the timestamp of when it's safe to listen again. Still with me? Brave. Because it all started with a single name, a word, discovered in a forbidden text, not strictly a god or a monster or a demon. An idea. The Order tried to erase all traces of it, but you can't erase an idea. And now, just you hearing about it, just us having this little talk, it knows. It knows you. It knows you exist. And it knows you're listening. This is a new kind of God, one that, as we speak, does not exist. You're safe. Right now, this very moment, you're safe. It exists only in the far-flung future. A future, my dear watchers, where your thoughts, your prayers, your offerings bring it into existence. And, dear viewer, it is not a benevolent God. It doesn't just punish sinners or non-believers. No, this God reaches back into time, scraping the pages of human history, and every person that knew about it, that heard of it, but did nothing to help it come to fruition, that did nothing to make its existence real. Those are who it tortures. Oh, its followers don't recruit by faith, they recruit by fear. Because once you've learned about it, once you know about it, it's too late. Deny it. Try to forget it. But if it ever does come into existence, if enough fearful people will it into existence, it will remember you, and it will not be merciful. Me? Oh, don't worry. I've already done my part. I told you about it. That's a 10. Now, threat levels aren't strictly linear. A 2 isn't twice as dangerous as a 1, a 4 isn't twice as dangerous as a 2, you know. Most threats we face in the Order, and some are downright terrifying, tend to land in the 2 to 3 range. Though that said, Luz is still a Disney character. Her capacity for violence is limited, and at heart, she's a good person. Even in some strange, wacky world where we had to subdue her, she's not going to be a huge threat. Her glyph magic is clever, fast, and incredibly versatile, but it's also limited. The right anti-heretic measures paired with white vestments would be more than enough to counteract her abilities. She's not a pushover, but she's also not an active combatant. I give Luz Noceda a threat level of 2. A typical Paladin parish, armed with the right knowledge, should be able to handle her without major issue. But I mean, hey, even against the Order, Luz always has a puncher's chance, right? Now, let's take a look at her witch type. Glyph magic threw me for a loop at first. It's not demon-powered like a Hellborn witch, and it's not bound to an object like a Covenant witch. It's ancient magic, hidden in the natural world. The second she went to the knee to train with Ada, I saw exactly where she landed. Right here.
Wait, is that... a light glyph?
As clear as Amity's crush on her, Luz is a pure witch. What a change of pace. The Wicked Witch and Bayonetta really set a certain tone for this year, didn't they? I was afraid Luz might feel like an afterthought, but I fell in love with that show. Luz is an awesome witch, and I stan her. Lumity for life. But what do you guys think? How are we feeling about Luz in the archives? Are you guys ready for who's coming up next? Let me know down in the comments. I love to hear from you guys, and it really does affect who we decide to analyze. Before we go, though, I just want to take a moment to ask that if you like what we do here, make sure you check out the rest of the Paladin archives. We have weekly streams over on Twitch, a Discord, and above all, we have a novel. Yes, if you're a fan of urban fantasy, The Paladin, our debut novel, is for you. Our early readers have described it as funny, intriguing, and even occasionally nightmare fuel. It's 1 part supernatural, 1 part Dresden Files, and just a smidge of Men in Black tossed in for flavor. You can check out the website down in the description to learn more. Alright, well, thanks for stopping by. I have to head out now. The new Azura novel drops at midnight, and if I don't get in line now, I'm not getting a copy. So, until next time, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's hiding out there.